How do you make the process of learning workable? It's so easy when we take on or engage with something new for us to get a bit overloaded or even overwhelmed. And particularly with something like mindfulness and meditation, where you're turning your attention inwardly. That's not the whole of what you're doing, but that's much of it, is starting to engage with what's happening inside you. And at times that can be challenging. And so really helpful to reflect upon, well, how can you engage with this process so that it's workable for you, both so that it's manageable and safe and so on, and also so you can get the most out of this. And there's a really nice model that I find helpful for kind of navigating this territory. And it's called the Comfort, Challenge, Overwhelm model. So I'll talk you through those three stages, if you like, or parts of this model, and hopefully this can provide you with a framework for how you might make this whole process workable. And so we can start with comfort, and really this is a recognition that there are experiences and situations that we find really comforting. They're soothing, they're nourishing. This is where we can rest and recharge, and this is really important for us. Helps to bolster us and strengthen us and really resource us so that we can do what we need to do. And part of the process of learning mindfulness and meditation involves finding ways to soothe, to steady yourself, to calm yourself. And so that can fall into this whole realm of the comfort zone. But then, we could reflect. Of course, you can't live there. Life at times, experiences at times will be challenging. And so we can also explore, well, how do you engage with things that are perhaps a little uncomfortable, but in a way that's useful? And in the challenge zone, we can recognize that although things are challenging, we have the resources to meet them. We have the capacity to meet them and to keep our wits about us, to know what we need to do, so that we can engage usefully with them. And this is where a lot of learning happens. It's also the domain of mastery, where we can get a bit of a handle on things. And even though they may be uncomfortable, this can be quite satisfying, actually, once we get the hang of this, of knowing how we can engage usefully with challenges. But then, of course, there will be times when things are too much for us. And this is the zone of overwhelm, where actually we don't have the capacities to meet what's happening. And being overwhelmed, being overloaded in this way, isn't particularly useful. We don't learn much here. And so also really helpful to be able to know what we can do when this is happening. And the first thing is to identify when it's happening, actually to know the signals within ourselves, and also to trust those signals. Because often when we're engaging with things, we're following other people's ways of doing things with this. And so it's easy to give over your sense of agency to someone else. And so an important part of this is trusting your own sense of, this is not okay for me. It's different to the challenge zone where, it's a bit uncomfortable, but you can have a sense of agency. You know what you can do there. And so you feel like you have some capacity there. But in overwhelm, that's gone. You may feel kind of restless and agitated in a way that feels completely unmanageable. Or sometimes what happens is you don't know where you are anymore. And again, in a way that is not okay. And so the first part of this is identifying that and trusting that that's a signal to be listened to, and then knowing what you can do. And in the context of mindfulness and meditation, there are 3 or 4 things that are often quite helpful to know as helpful strategies when you're in the overwhelm zone. The first is guiding your attention to something that's more comfortable. Often there will be experiences, things like the soles of the feet, listening to sounds, looking out to what's around you, that feel more neutral or even pleasant. And so that can be a really useful first thing to explore if you find that you're feeling a bit overwhelmed. The second thing can be, if your eyes are closed, which sometimes happens in meditation, to open them. With open eyes, we have more of a sense of space, and with closed eyes, often a sense of things being intensified inwardly, and also we feel, of course, slightly cut off from things when our eyes are closed. So opening eyes can be a really good idea. The third thing can be moving the body. If you're still, actually moving the body in a way that feels comfortable or comforting for you can be really helpful. And then finally, anything else. Getting up, moving around, talking to people, anything else that you have a sense this is going to be helpful. And often taking it in this order, guiding your attention to something more comfortable, opening the eyes, moving the body in a way that's comfortable, and then anything else. That's often a helpful order to take things in, but really I'd encourage you to trust your own sense of what's going to be helpful for you. And really maintaining some sense of agency is a crucial part of this whole process, so that really you're in charge. And it's so easy to give that over when you're learning. But I would really encourage you to trust yourself and to have a sense of knowing what's going to be okay for you. And of course, you can err on the side of caution. Some of this requires a little bit of trial and error, particularly kind of distinguishing between challenge and overwhelm. It's like, we need to get used to this and to find our way. And so absolutely fine to err on the side of caution, to take good care of yourself as you explore this whole process. Okay, take care.